Hey guys, I assume this is the right thing to be doing for the page. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm just doing a Facebook Live. Is Backyard Barbecue Smokers, is this the page? How do I interact? Anybody? Okay. Thanks for the support. Glad to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. Sorry for my ineptness. This is the first time I've done this. I do a lot of Facebook Live, but I haven't never done one specific like this, so I didn't know how to start it. I apologize for that. So we're here in my office. This is where I spend a lot of my time. It's up in the front of the house. I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, with Sandy. And this is the headquarters of Dr. Barbeque. Anybody got any questions, or you want me to just show you around, or I'm just going to kind of try to hold off on that. Hey man, I started just like all of you guys, you know. I just happened to start in 1982. How'd I get the Dr. Barbeque name? It's a lame story. It was the early 80s, actually early 90s, and I've been doing the barbecue thing for a while. And I got a new van in 1993, and Illinois just started allowing vanity license plates. So I sent in, back then you sent in the paperwork with 3 requests on it, and it was all in writing, and I sent it in, and I'm not exactly sure what my 3 choices were, if Dr. Barbeque was even my first choice, but that's the one they sent me, and I stuck it on my van. So that was, and then I became Dr. Barbeque. I had a successful trucking business at the time. I really wasn't planning on going into the barbecue business. It was just a fun license plate was all it was. And, you know, all these days later, we're fixing to open a restaurant named Dr. Barbeque, and now it's all trademarked and everything. It's a whole different story. Do I wrap my butts? Depends on the day. You know, every day's a little bit different. When I first started cooking, we never wrapped anything. But then along the way, wrapping became a thing, and now it's like nobody cooks anything without wrapping, which surprises me. Because a pork butt, you can cook a pork butt without wrapping, it'll be just fine. Briskets are a little tougher, but it's a little different. But so most days I do wrap them just because I don't feel like waiting it out. But you should never think there's one way to do anything, because there certainly is not. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Hey, Harry, good to see you. So I just saw Harry recently in Fort Worth, and we hung around a little bit. I see you're doing this on Sunday, Harry. Good luck with that. Harry's much more techie than I am, so he won't have any trouble with this. Do I like big pork butts? Yes, the bigger the better. I've always been like that. You know, we look at the KCBS rules. If you look at it, we started with, they have the rule that you have to have a 4 to 5 pound butt or something like that. Well, that was because guys would just show up in town and go to the grocery store and buy a pork butt, which is, I mean, how ridiculous does that seem to what guys do these days? But that's how it was. You would have just, so they'd have them half a pork butts in the grocery store, and you'd go in, and so you had to try to find one that weighed at least 5 pounds. What's my personal barbecue flavor profile? Same answer. There's no one. Depends what kind of mood I'm in. Some days I'll grab the Cajun seasoning, which has no sugar in it at all. It's pretty spicy and salty. Other days I'll grab I got a bottle of Rod Gray's what's it called? Eat Me. And I got some of that in there, and it's pretty sweet. So I just, what am I in the mood for that day? You know, I guess that's the freedom of not cooking in barbecue contests anymore. I can cook however I feel like that day. And I do. I cook things a lot of different ways. One of the questions I keep getting about the restaurant is what style of barbecue? Well, that's just nonsense. I preclude all of that. In 1982, we didn't talk about these styles of barbecue. It's very fabricated to me by journalists that sit in New York and want to talk about these regions of barbecue. You know how big Texas is? Does anybody really think that everybody in Texas cooks their barbecue the same way? It's kind of ridiculous. So I think there's many different ways to do it. Yeah, flavor profile. What does that mean? You know what that means? Taste. What does it taste like? Of course, everybody likes it a little. You want a balance, so you want a little bit of salt, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of heat, and then you want some flavor in there: onion, garlic, maybe some herbs. But it's all about balance, getting that balance right. Whatever you feel like doing. Am I coming to Egg Fest in Santa Clara? No, I'm not coming this year. That's one of them things you do every now and then. It's fun to do, though. I enjoy it. I'll get back there again, I'm sure. I'm actually going to one in Florida tomorrow. We're heading over to Wassy Egg Fest over in, I don't know where it is, Port Canaveral, I think. So I try to go to different ones. What kind of cooker was my first one? Well, my first barbecue contest I did in 1982. I borrowed a Weber kettle because I didn't have a barbecue grill. And right after that, I bought one of those, Kingsford was making those big oval ones. I think somebody else, there was a different name that they had for a while. They made them up in Pacific Northwest, I believe. And I had one of those for a while. And then a buddy of mine built me a 55-gallon drum, and then I've had everything you could imagine. The first big smoker I had was a Jedmaster. I bought that thing in the early 90s. And if you've never cooked on a Jedmaster, you're missing out because it was a great cooker. The reason all these cabinet smokers now that have this controlled burn, Dennis Unruh was his name. He was he pretty much created that whole idea. He had the ring of fire. You'd load it up with charcoal, and he would you'd light it on one end, and it would burn around the ring. And as long as you kept the temperature, the airflow coordinated right, it'd stay right on temp. Tips on whole hog for first timers. Oh, come on. You might want to call me, and we'll talk about that one offline because it's a little bit longer. That's kind of a big question. Make sure you got a big enough cooker, and it probably won't take as long as you think it's gonna. Guys think it's a hog. Well, but they buy 40-pound hogs and think it's going to take 24 hours to cook. A 40-pound hog won't take as long as a pork butt to cook. So it's something to think about. But don't cook a hog unless you've got a big enough smoker. If you've got the smoker space to do it, by all means. I generally cook them like everybody else, where you cut them along the ribs and butterfly them open. We just cooked a nice one down in Miami. Watch every soda Pitmasters also have a long goatee. Yes, it does make you a pro. I was never on Pitmasters. It was a contract thing. When they first started Pitmasters, they called me, and it was a real restrictive contract, and I wouldn't do it. I worked for Big Green Egg already. I had other TV projects in the works. I was doing Tailgate Warriors with Guy and doing some other things, and so I couldn't sign that original contract, and I never made it onto Pitmasters. I did all the extra shows that they did. One time we were in Houston. Every time they would want Myron to cook, it seems like they would call me. So I did that one in Houston where me and Chris Lilly and Mike Lake judged, and I did the one in Myron's backyard, the original smoked, and there was another one too. They would always call me when, like I said, when they wanted Myron to cook, and it was all the same people, the same crew, and the same whole project. But it was but they were always not Pitmasters, so that way they wouldn't make me sign this restrictive contract. And, Myron, I'll give him credit. Myron took a big chance on that contract because we were in the same boat at the time. He took a chance on that, that it was going to all work out for him. I was leery, and I didn't do it. And it worked out real well for him. I mean, I'm not complaining. I've probably been on Food Network more than any of those guys, so I'm not complaining about it. But it's everybody takes different paths. But I was never actually on Pitmasters. Was a question about wrapping ribs? Same answer, Some days I do, some days I don't. I don't want you to ever think that there's one way to do stuff. It's just really not the best way. Think about, cook real barbecue. Don't get caught up in all this contest stuff. KCBS has morphed into, me, Myron, and Cabo. I don't work for Cabo no more. I keep asking them to take me off their website. It was a nice run. Those things don't always last forever. You do it for a couple of years. Cabo, they were nice folks. It was a lot of fun, but it's my job. So if you don't pay me, I can't do it anymore. But I'm sure I'll be drinking some other spirits for money in the near future. That's always an ongoing challenge. That's what's amazing about my relationship with Big Green Egg. It's 15 years this spring that I've been working with them, and that's a pretty amazing feat because spokesman gigs don't last that long. It's just not how it works. You do it for as long as you can, and usually one guy gets tired of the other, or they go in a different direction. That's what's happening with Cabo. I think they're doing things different. A different guy came in and wanted to do a different way, and that's fine. I got no problem with that. I don't mind that. The old school barbecue guru. Yeah, well, I'm a barbecue guru fan. If that's a question. Do I think pellets are cheating? No, heck no. That's should we have disallowed pellet cookers years ago? I don't think so. I've always been in the camp that it's not an electric cooker. It's a wood cooker that just has electric feed. And these days, it's hard to walk through a cook-off and find somebody that doesn't have some kind of electric assist of some sort going on. So, no, I don't think they're cheating at all. I've actually had one for years. Fast Eddie's a good friend of mine, and I've got one of his cookers in my trailer right now, and I've always had one, and I had a big one that I had built once before. So no, I don't think they're cheating at all. I'm not, they're one-dimensional. That's my problem with them for backyard. They're one-dimensional. I work for Big Green Egg. I can get that thing to 1,000 degrees and burn the hair off your arm while searing the shit out of a steak. And I'm happy to do that. I can also turn it down and smoke on it. I can cook pizzas on it. I can do all those different things. I can cook direct right over the fire. I can cook direct about 1.5 feet over the fire. I can do all kinds of different things with my Big Green Egg. And I really like that about it. And that's where I think a pellet cooker lacks compared to it. So... everyone assumes you would be stout with a goatee and perhaps be wearing suspenders. Okay. I usually think people think I should be wearing a white suit and selling fried chicken. Have I cooked on a Vision Grill? Nah. I work for Big Green Egg, the real one. Yeah, cheated with pellet grill. That's not a real question. I saw something there. What's my go-to grill in my backyard? It's a Big Green Egg. I mean, I've been working for them for 15 years. That's what I cook on. But you got to understand, after 15 years, it's not like I probably could get somebody else to hire me if I didn't want to work for Big Green Egg anymore. I really think it's that good. Now the knockoffs, that's what they are. They're knockoffs. They're knockoffs of the Big Green Egg. I am sure somebody's going to tell me the Big Green Egg was preceded by some Japanese cooker 3,000 years ago. That's true. But there's only one that was making a big splash in the U.S. market, and it's the Big Green Egg. And everything that came after that is a knockoff, as far as I'm concerned. That's fine. It's the way the world goes around. It's the way we do business in America. But if I'm the guy buying it, I'm going to spend the extra couple $100 and buy the real one. We've been in business for 35 years. We're going to be there. I just don't. I think I talk to a lot of guys that that have a Big Green Egg and their neighbor has a non-Big Green Egg, and which one do you think is happier? So I do work for them. Understand that. I never, it's not. I'm a little bit biased, but again, I could probably find somebody else to hire me if I didn't want to work for Big Green Egg, but that's not where we are. Speaking of that, I got a new Big Green Egg Cookbook for all you green egg heads. I don't know if anybody's seen it yet. We launched it at Eggtoberfest. Ray Lampe's Big Green Egg Cookbook. It's all Big Green Egg recipes. This is my 9th cookbook. I've written a bunch of them. That's the one that I've been wanting to do a Big Green Egg Cookbook for a long time. I finally got around to it. I had Suzanne Perry. Hey, Suzanne. Somebody was asking about mopping and wrapping before. Mopping to me is an old school method. If you're cooking over a wood fire 3 feet over the fire, and you don't really have good air control to control the temperature, you got your hose, so you got to hose down the fire once in a while. Certainly a viable way to cook barbecue. If you're cooking like that, you might want to mop, because your food's going to be, it's more like it's a little bit more closer to grilling than smoking. Thank you for the advice. Looking to upgrade from your Weber Smoky Mountain. Nothing wrong with Weber Smoky Mountain. What I never liked about it was dealing with all that water and the mess that it makes. So I've always tried to avoid that. So upgrade to a Big Green Egg and you'll never be sorry. But anyway, I wanted to write a Big Green Egg book for a long time, and I had a deal with a publisher and they had a deal with a publisher. You careful what you wish for. When it becomes your real business, there are things that you have to do. And we finally got it worked out, and I finally got that big book written. We launched it at Eggtoberfest in October, which is not a great time to launch a barbecue cookbook. So we are sort of relaunching it this weekend in at Wassy Egg Fest over in what's the name of that town? Port Canaveral. It's where all the cruise ships come in over by the Air Force Base. So I'll be over there this weekend. We're going to get it started. The Menard's egg is not really close. You got me, man. I know I can make a pretty good guess, but it's probably not. Thoughts on gravity-fed smokers? Yeah, they're fine. I mean, they take any need to know what you're doing out of it. They're basically about as automatic as it gets. But like I told you, I was one of the first guys that had a Jetmaster, which is essentially the same thing. So I'm not against it. I'm not against any progress like that. Now, in the world of barbecue competition, maybe somewhere along the way we should have made some rules. If you saw, I ran across an old post from a blog I did in like 2004 recently. Yes, I'm going to Memphis in May. Big Green Egg is doing a really cool thing out there this year. We're doing we're bringing in Brian from B's Cracklin' Barbecue over in South Carolina or Atlanta or wherever he's from, and the Grand Champion Barbecue guys from Atlanta, and Melissa Cookston's going to join us, and we're going to have a real barbecue station at Memphis in May. So if you ever went to Memphis in May, you find that often you can't get any real barbecue. You end up eating a corn dog. And we're going to have this thing. I think it's going to be, you're going to have to pay to get in, but you're going to get food from all four of us, like for a couple hours, and there might be some drinks involved. I don't have the exact details in front of me, but I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to be a fun thing to do. Did I ever cook on an ugly drum smoker? No, I haven't. I've cooked on plenty of 55-gallon drums, but always going this way, like the old way we used to make them into grills, and you would basically pile your charcoal on the end of it. But the first cook-off I ever went to first KCBS cook-off in 1991, and there was a guy there with essentially an ugly drum smoker. He had a little door cut in the side of it, but it was basically an ugly drum smoker, and the guy did good. He could cook well on that thing. I always remember that. So nothing's new, we just recycle good ideas. And stuff goes in and out of fashion, The Jambos are very popular, and the drums are real popular right now. It's not that long ago everybody wanted a Fast Eddie, and before that, them Jetmasters were real hot. So, and it'll change again. Dave Close, I haven't heard anybody talk about Dave Close in years, but you look at one of Dave Close's pits, it's a cooking machine, man. They're great. Dave always used to tell us that if you went by weight, you would find that his barbecue pits were the best because they were heavier than everybody else's. Do I like what new chefs are doing with modernizing barbecue? Yes, I do, actually. Let me jump on this one first. Importance of brisket selection. We used to cook choice briskets all the time, and I think that's probably the right thing to do. It's a brisket. It's supposed to be a tough cut of meat, but if everybody else is cooking Wagyu, it's pretty hard or prime or whatever the flavor of the month is. It's pretty hard to compete if you're not, because the judges understand that taste, that feel, that mouth feel, and it's just not the same as a choice brisket. I don't have any problem with choice briskets at all, but for a competition, what are you going to do? If everybody else is going to do that, you have to. Do I like what new chefs are doing with modernizing barbecue? Yeah, I do. The one thing I want them to do, and most of them are now, is know the roots, know the real of it. I got sideways with a guy on Twitter one day that called himself Kimchi Smoke, and he was putting kimchi on his brisket sandwich because he had studied, he knew all about Korean food, and he knew about Austin barbecue, and I thought he sounded like a fool, and I asked him if he'd ever been to Austin, and he said no, but he had studied it. And I'm sorry, you can't start fixing what they're doing in Austin until you go there a couple times, about like 20 times. Then start working on fixing it. So I am for the, taking things to the next level. I'm really happy. I went to Hometown Barbecue in Red Hook, New York the other day, a couple weeks ago, whatever it was. And I'd heard about Billy. I know Billy for years, but I hadn't seen his place. And what I saw Billy doing was really cool. And what I wanted to see happen was, do I have any desire to judge Pitmasters? I think it's off the air. I judge all the other shows that weren't actually Pitmasters. But anyway, Billy is doing these really interesting things. And see, in New York, I was like one of the first wave of guys that were teaching guys how to cook barbecue in New York. I worked for Southern Hospitality, which is Justin Timberlake's restaurant. Still work with them guys, like them guys, and still go up there a lot. And they're actually cooking pretty good barbecue there these days. They never get any attention because Justin Timberlake's involved, so nobody wants to give them any love. They don't get nobody will ever acknowledge that they have good food there, but they actually do. But anyway, I was on the first wave. Paul Kirk had opened Rub in New York. Hill Country had opened with Mark Glosserman, who's from the Hill Country of Texas. Virgil's was open, but I don't really know what was going on with Virgil's. And we came in with Southern Hospitality. So all of a sudden, and Blue Smoke with Mike Mills helping them out. So all of a sudden there were real barbecue guys in Manhattan. This was new. It really hadn't been happening for very long. And nowadays, but then they were all trying to emulate, like Hill Country. I like Hill Country a lot, but they're just trying to pretend they're Kreitz Market. It's very Disney-like, and I don't really think that's wise. I think learn it, okay, that's fine. And now let's see the New York version of that. What is New York barbecue? And we went to go to Hometown Barbecue in Red Hook, and you'll see what New York barbecue is. It was very cool. Billy's really doing it right there. He said all kinds of other influences that are very New York, but yet he knows his roots. He knows what real barbecue is about. The same thing's happening in England. I go over to England every year for grill stock, and the first year the food was ridiculous. Nobody knew what they were doing. I mean, it was hard to even eat it. It was horrible. But 5 years in, the boxes at grill stock, and the rules are different. We allow them to put anything edible in the box. So they can garnish however they want. They could make a sandwich if they felt like it. Because we thought that was important in the beginning. Well, 5 years in, every single box looks exactly like a KCBS box. Yes, Mike Mills is a very nice guy. He's a friend of mine. I'm lucky to have been around for so long, and all these guys are friends of mine. We kind of grew up together. I always say I'm one of the original guys. So anyway, in England, I'm looking forward to the days when they evolve and it becomes British barbecue. And because right now it's way sweeter than anything you'd ever eat in England. It's sweeter than the desserts. And it's not going to stay that way. Is New York any different than Texas? Yes, New York is different than Texas. What makes better barbecue base? Mustard, vinegar, or tomato? Depends on the day. I hate mustard, so I never want mustard. So it has nothing, I would never say mustard. But vinegar and tomato, really, it's pretty hard to make a barbecue sauce without one of those. And it's just a matter of the ratio. If you put a lot of vinegar and a little bit of tomato, you're going to get a strong vinegar sauce. I like that. I like that a lot. If you put a lot of tomato and a little bit of vinegar, you're probably going to add a little more sugar and make a sweet sauce. That's fine too. I think that, barbecue sauces can be a lot of different things. To me, the thing that you have to put into a barbecue sauce to make it taste like barbecue sauce, the best way to approach Food Network or Spotlight type shows, approach them as in you want to be on the show. They have casting calls all the time. If you go on their website, there's casting opportunities there. Hey, Marcus, good to see you. But really, the Food Network shows are done by production companies. That if the production company doesn't want to do it, doesn't think it's a good idea, it's probably never going to happen. So if you're thinking about trying to pitch a show, buddy up with a production company, it's probably your best bet. Because they sort of bring the ideas to the Food Network, and it's pretty hard to just call them with your idea. That's probably not going to happen. I want to put Michigan on the barbecue map. Well, Michigan's already on the barbecue map. That's where I won my first grand championship. One of my main mentors in the barbecue world, a guy named John Beadle. He's passed now, but John lived in Grand Rapids. I used to go to Michigan, and matter of fact, somebody was asking me. I'm going to show you this. I'll show you this picture right now. Somebody was asking about this earlier. My first grand championship. That's it right there. It was in Michigan in 1995, August 5th, 1995. That is a photocopy of the check. There was no trophy for winning grand champion. So they gave me this check, so I was like, I'm going to do something with that. So I took $100 of the money I'd won, and I had this framed. I had that little plaque made, and I had put it in a frame. And there it is. It's still in my office, I don't know, 22, 23 years later. This thing here, look at this crazy picture. It's kind of scary, but a guy called me up one day. Well, actually, it had been this article right here. It had been in the paper in Tampa. And so this guy called me and he said, hey, I do these crazy drawings. You look like an interesting character. I'd like to draw you. So I was suspicious, of course. But he came out to the Plant City Cook-Off and he drew this sitting right there at the. We were having dinner on Friday night. He drew this thing, and it's pretty wild. I mean, it certainly looks like me. It's kind of crazy abstract, but so there's 2 trophies in my office. That one right there. I don't know if you can see that, but it says 1991 Illinois State Barbecue Championship Poultry. That's the first barbecue trophy I ever won in 1991. It was a KCBS contest, but the category was poultry back then, not chicken. I cooked a turkey, and I came in 3rd, and that's my first barbecue trophy. Now this one here, you might know what this one is. That's the Hall of Fame trophy. There's this bronze slab of ribs. Rod Gray actually cooked the ribs, and they took them and made a bronze slab out of them. And if you know Stretch from Grinders, who's cooking a lot these days, Stretch actually took the bronze ribs, and they got this block from Boos, and Stretch made this little crown and kind of assembled the whole thing. Yeah, I'll take you out there in a minute and show you where my smokers are. I want to show you some of this other stuff that's up here, though. So this was in the Tampa Times. There's another one here, but that was the Tribune. This one's from the Times. We'll probably hang those in the restaurant. We'll see. Up here, see what that is? Founding member of the Florida Barbecue Association. This here is a thank you for helping us set up the Canadian Barbecue Association. In what year was that? 2006. The FBA thing is 2001. So as you can see, I'm old, man. I got some old stuff. This is me and Gary Wells. Gary Wells has been gone for a while. Gary is the guy that created KCBS. Gary and Carolyn, and a guy named Rick Welch. But Gary was the driving force. Gary had an insurance office, and he let us run KCBS out of his office for years. And, we miss him a lot, I can tell you that. That's at the American Royal in 1998, I think, and that is the 3rd place overall trophy. They weren't as classy as they are now. It's just a gigantic plastic bowling trophy. It's in my garage with pieces broke off of it. These are ribbons from judging the jack. I got a few of those around. I've cooked the jack probably 8 or 10 times in my life. I never did that well. I do have one jug out there from winning chicken. I never did great at the jack. This is a pencil drawing that Chef Michel Richard drew of me. Well, we did the Ultimate Barbecue Showdown, or whatever it was called, in Reno years ago. Michel Richard, if you don't know Michel Richard, he passed last year as well. He was a badass French chef, good friend of Julia Child, and he would do these pencil drawings. He was really a cool guy, and he did that for me, and I had it framed, and it means a lot to me. That's my Master Judge cert from KCBS, October 18th, 2006. I'm Master Judge number 738, I think it is, something like that. Couple of barbecue cookbooks. I just saw both of those guys recently, and there's the cookbooks. These are the original butt-to-butt trophies. If you don't ever heard of the butt-to-butt, Mike Lake used to have this in Chicago, or outside of Chicago, and he would invite guys that won the pork division at the Jack and the Royal and all different places, and he would basically have a head-to-head the night before, and I won it the first 2 years. I was the only guy to win it twice for a long time, but I think there's a couple people that did now. I think Candy Sue won it once, and somebody else did. So I just wanted to show you some of that stuff. There's a few other plaques hanging around up here, but that important. I just wanted to show you some of that stuff. Let me get back at the questions. I better take you outside before it gets too dark. Do I cater, and what are some tips and advice for getting started? I don't do much of that anymore. Catering's good. I mean, it's nice because you get the money up front. You get the money up front, and you know what you got to do. But it's a lot of work. And if you're going to do it, to me, my advice always with these things is it's business. So if you're going to open a restaurant, walking you through the house. Sandy's making 1 million stuffed mushrooms. We're going to this egg fest, and she's Made a bunch of stuffed mushrooms to cook for folks. These are the dogs. That's Pinky right there. Hey, Pink. Pinky's a little albino dog, and that's Minnie Pearl. Minnie Pearl's a Chihuahua. Pinky's a little mini albino dog. This is an old Jack Daniels trophy. What year is it? I can't see. The 12th annual Jack. So, 2000. Okay. Matter of fact, over here, among all the whiskey, is my Jack Daniels jug somewhere. I don't know where it went now. It's around here somewhere. There it is. It's back behind all the whiskey. See it back there? Like third place chicken, I think, in 1998 or something like that. Alright, this is the backyard. This is what it's like when you live in Florida. What your backyard's supposed to look like. Farmer Sandy growing tomatoes everywhere. Eggs. That's a Mini Max. That's a large one. This is the one I cook on most of the time. We used to sell this stuff, this furniture, Big Green Egg, but they've gone a different direction with the stuff. It didn't work out that well, but it was really nice stuff, and I ended up with a set of it. Part of the package we were selling. Pretty cool stuff. And this is a medium egg. This is just one I've had around for a long time. I used to always carry a medium because I used to drive around in a van, and I would. So the medium was the biggest one I could bear hug and take it in and out of my van. So I've always had a medium. My original egg is in my garage. The one if you read my first book, I titled it Lisa Marie, because all the eggheads used to name their eggs. So I always thought it was kind of funny. So I named mine Lisa Marie. And this is my Blackstone griddle and a couple of rib racks from my Fast Eddie, just obviously being neglected. It's time to clean up the yard. Now that over there, that's a barbecue pit that was here when I showed up. Sandy grew up in this house. And this is, her dad built this barbecue pit. Now, I've never used it. We've got some grates that go on it. I don't know really what I would do. It's really more of a grill, because unless he had a lid for it, a cover for it at some point. Because there's a door down here. You could do kind of like what they do in Texas. You could have a little fire down on this end, and you could have it would draft through there if you had a lid. But as you can see, there's a little ledge there, but there's really not enough room for any sizable meat. So you would need almost a dome lid. So maybe someday I'll have one of those made. But my buddy Teddy Reeder had a much better idea. Teddy said, why don't you take and right in the wall, put a bushing, and we'll get a spit, and then anchor the spit down here. So the spit will go here, and we just put a fire down in there and cook a pig or whatever we want to on the spit, and it'd be a nice size spit situation. So I think I'll probably better chance I'll do that. For now, there's like a snake living in there. You can see that snake skin laying on the side over there. There's a little black snake that lives in there, but he's harmless, so he ain't hurt nobody. We let him live there. Palm trees. I never lived in Florida. I lived in Chicago, so first time I moved here, I just wanted to plant a bunch of palm trees. Competition season starts in the UK tomorrow. I heard that. You guys have fun over there. What's the weather like, though? Can't be warm in the UK yet. Got to be like winter. No, I haven't used that thing yet. I really should. This is, I bought this. This is Bo Bear. I'm a Chicago Bears fan my whole life, and I always wanted some kind of cool bear to put in the backyard. And I was driving to Memphis in May with Leanne Whitman. Sandy loves this kind of stuff. And again, we live in Florida, so we should have. This thing's made. This little girl, her dad had a body shop, and she would cut out these things out of the broken down fenders and make. And I was just telling her the story. I was trying to buy this bear, and it was a concrete bear at one of the places where they have all the concrete stuff by my house, and it was like $2,000. And the guy said, lady said she didn't know how much it weighed. She was thinking it was 2,000. Oh, am I losing my Wi-Fi? She said it was 2,000 pounds, she thought. And I was telling Leanne the story. We're driving through Mississippi, and all of a sudden there's a guy carving bears on the side of the road. And so she's like, you got to be kidding. We pulled over. We had cash only, so I had to borrow all Leanne's cash and all of my cash. And brought him home. And the guy that was carving, his name was Bo. If you're ever in Effingham, Illinois, I bought this at the John Boost factory for like $300. They have John Boost nice stuff there. It's like an outlet. I don't know. There had to be something wrong with it. I sure couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. The guy Norbert over there. Tell Norbert I said hi. Le Crusades I've been collecting forever. That's what it looks like if you live with me. Sandy got used to it, but where else are you gonna? You got that much cooking equipment. Where are you gonna put it? Chicago resident from the west suburbs. Do I get back often? Yeah, I do actually. 3-4 times a year. My sister still lives up in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, so I get up there once in a while. And so yeah, I do get back a lot. I'll actually be up for the National Restaurant Show in May. Let me turn this back around. I'll be back for a National Restaurant Show in May, and I do get there a lot. My favorite food to eat, well, it always used to be Italian beef, but I bought a slicer, so now I can make my own Italian beef that's really pretty good. So I don't get that much of a Jones for it. I usually bring home ganella bread, and I just throw it all in my suitcase and bring it home and freeze it. I got like 5 rolls in there. I'm nursing them right now. And the Italian sausage, the Italian sausage up there is so much better. And then things like Prosky, if you know what Prosky is. If you're a suburban Chicago guy, you probably know what Prosky is. I usually bring one of them home. No, Go Pack Go, no. That's not going to happen. Me and Scotty Johnson are going to cook the cook-off at Lambeau Field this year. If you're expecting us to be respectful, that probably won't happen because it's just, I live down here now in Florida in the South, and everybody thinks that Southern, the rivalries in the SEC and stuff are, pizza puffs. Yeah, I like those. Yeah, I like Al's. Al's is not my favorite beef. These days, it's Boston's. If you've ever been to Boston, if you see me on the Food Network with the guy from Boston's on Best Thing I Ever Ate, it's a good one. I really like Boston's. It's one of the original pizzas. Deep dish pizza, you're not really from Chicago, are you, James? Because Chicagoans don't eat deep dish pizza. Once in a while. Chicagoans eat square cut, thin crust pizza. Deep dish is for tourists. If you go to Geno's East, try to find a Chicago guy eating in there. It's all guys from Iowa. So to me, Italian beef is the real Chicago food. And that's really what I look for. And like I said, the sausage, Italian sausage. Yeah, Home Run Inn. I like Home Run Inn. I grew up going to that one over on 31st Street there, just over outside of Cicero. What's my next TV show? I got nothing happening right now. I don't know what they're doing. If there's any barbecue shows being made this year, I don't know about them, except for Grill Masters, and I was on that the first year. So deep dish once or twice a year, square pizza 2 times a month. Exactly. That's exactly right. Spartanburg, South Carolina. Yes, you probably really like deep dish pizza and think Chicagoans eat it all. That's exactly right. Well, I didn't say it's not good. Deep dish is fine, but it's not what Chicagoans eat all the time. It's tourist pizza. It's like going to get that excellent New York pizza at Sparrow. Anybody get that joke? Or going to get some fine New York seafood at Bubba Gump. It's just what the tourists eat. Anytime for a first-time comp cooker, just go for it. Jump in. These classes now, and as much as I hate that it's become this, I sort of helped create it because I was one of the first guys. Well, I was the first guy doing full-blown tell-it-all classes while I was still winning. Paul Kirk was doing classes. Ed Royth used to do some classes, but Ed wouldn't tell you everything, and Paul hadn't won anything in a long time. I was still winning, and I was doing classes and really telling people. So I always remember, getting ready to do them and thinking, my God, man, I worked hard to learn all this stuff. Now, back then, we didn't used to share like we do, like everybody does now. And so now it's become this, everybody would do things that were different. And, we'd still try to rip each other off. That's where the term shiggin came from. But even that was many years later. We always used to say, we'll help you 80% of the way, and you're on your own the other 20%. But now, I took Heath Ryle's class recently, and Heath pretty much tells you everything to the specific of what he's doing. And I think a lot of what he does is similar to what most of the guys are doing now. So if you're going to go into competition cooking, I think you should take one of those classes now. I think there's a lot of the good guys doing them. It's expensive, but hey, it's an expensive hobby. White Sox all the way. The Cubs, I have a Cub hater. I was rooting. I thought they were going to choke till the final end. I was sitting there in the bottom of the ninth in the World Series telling Sandy, don't worry, they're still going to choke. But they let me down, and they did win it. But They won't do that again. What wood do I like best? Yes, Heath is a really good guy. What would I like best? I've always liked combination. I like oak and I like hickory because they have that good barbecue flavor. You know, that good backbone. It's got some balls to it. But I also like apple and really cherry more than apple. So typically, if I have a choice, I'm going to use about 2 parts cherry and 1 part oak or hickory. It really kind of depends what mood I'm in or what I have around. But I like that combination. However, if you're going to use one wood, I think pecan's a really good choice, and that's very possibly what we'll use at the restaurant. Now, speaking of the restaurant, there's a new logo. We're getting ready to go open down here. Suzanne and Roger, my partners, are asking questions for us here, and Tony, I saw Tony on there. I've gotten very lucky. I've hooked up with a good team down here of restaurant people, so I don't have to know all about restaurants because that's their job. I get to just kind of be myself and do this kind of thing and help promote everything. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm pretty excited about it. It's not my kind of thing. You know, restaurants are hard work, and I've always avoided them. It's so funny. I'm getting so many calls from people saying, "Hey, you've been telling me my whole life not to go in the restaurant business, and now you're doing it." I said, "Yeah, well, that's because I have really good partners. Open a restaurant in the Chicago area. You need good Q." You know, ironically, you never know. It's not out of the question. We're open to anything. We wouldn't rule anything out. But obviously we all live in Florida, so it would be a challenge. But we found really good modern barbecue restaurants in Chicago. Green Street Smoked Meats is a really good place. Smoke Daddy, I think Smoke Daddy's an excellent place. A whole totally different vibe than Green Street. Barry over at Smoke is serving great barbecue. Jared up there, whatever the heck the name of his restaurant is these days, was Rub's Backyard or something. I think he changed the name, but Jared's got really good food, real barbecue up there. We found a lot of really good barbecue, and it's interesting because it's all modern barbecue. The barbecue, when I grew up in Chicago, I don't know if any of you guys are as old as me. I'll be 60 in a couple weeks. The barbecue was only in the black community. There really wasn't any barbecue in the white community because white guys had all come from Ellis Island. They hadn't come from the South where real barbecue was. The black guys had migrated up. Now it's different now, but it's very different. The black man, I went on that bus trip with Famous Dave recently. We went to Lem's and what was it, Honey One, and I forget what the third place was, and it was great. Those are great old places, but it's very different. It's more Mississippi old school barbecue. In Chicago, we found modern barbecue that was probably better than anywhere else we found as a group. Modern day barbecue restaurants. It was really impressive. So go to those places. Go check out Green Street. I think it's a great place. I mean, it's downtown. If you live out in the suburbs, it's a little different. And Mark over there at Uncle Bub's, Mark's got good barbecue and a really good place. A nice guy. What'd you say about Leon's? Famous Dave's is, they're nice places. I haven't been to Myron's place yet. I don't know. I saw him recently though, and he seemed pretty serious about it. He's had some barbecue projects or restaurant projects in the past I didn't think he was that serious about, and he seems pretty serious about that one. So I got a feeling that it's probably pretty good. He certainly knows how to cook barbecue, so I suspect that Myron's place is probably pretty good these days. He told me he's there quite a bit, so I would check up on that and go when he's there. He's always willing to talk to you. You'll enjoy meeting him if you haven't before. Seen good reviews on all those places, but the modern look pushed me away. Well, it's a different kind of place. You're right in that regard. They're very different, but it's almost, it's this educated barbecue kind of thing. When I was learning how to cook barbecue, we didn't know about the science of it. We didn't know about the history. There was no internet. You didn't read about Texas barbecue this and North Carolina that. You just kind of cooked some meat and you learned what you could. And you did it your way. These guys now come in loaded for bear. They're well schooled and they travel around and they eat at these places and they buy kick-ass equipment. Green Street's got the same smoker we bought, that giant J&R Oiler. If you saw that great video at the Dr. Barbecue's Facebook page, the restaurants have all got the site pages have all got the S on there for now. But the Green Street's got that same big smoker, and frankly, that's one of the reasons we bought it. We found we were eating a lot of different places. Roger and Suzanne went more places than I did even, but I've done it for years. And the best barbecue we found was typically coming off those big Oilers. Now, you got to know how to use them. We've learned a lot over the last couple months about what you should do with them. Ever been to Scott's or Sauceman's or Sweatman's? No, I haven't been to any of those, actually. I don't like mustard, so I've always avoided South Carolina barbecue basically because of that. Somebody's talking about Leanne. My old buddy Leanne Whippen moved to another place. She's still in Chicago. Yeah, I did. I know that, actually. I haven't talked to her lately. Her daughter lives down here, though, so I do. Leanne's a good friend of mine. I talk to her regularly, but she's just been really busy. So, yeah, I look forward to that, because Leanne was doing a really good job there at Chicago Q. Now, I don't know who's cooking the barbecue up there these days, but Leanne knows how to cook barbecue, and she knows how to cook barbecue in a restaurant. That was a really good restaurant there. Now, I don't know what she's doing these days, but I guarantee Leanne is back to cooking really good barbecue. It's at one of the Hiltons downtown. I don't know the name of it, but it shouldn't be hard to find her. If you really want to know, send me a message, and I'll find it for you. Because Leanne's great. And she's a doll. If you ever never met Leanne, make sure you track her down. What do I think about a mix of mesquite, hickory, and, well, I quoted in my first cookbook saying that I thought mesquite smelled like it came straight from the devil's ass crack. So that's my opinion of mesquite. So I would not use mesquite for anything. If you have to use it for grilling where it's a wide open fire. You know, you don't want to choke that fire down at all if you're using mesquite. It's strong and it's nasty. I'm not a fan. Hickory's okay, but hickory can be really strong too. You got to be careful. Make sure it's seasoned well, and make sure that you don't, it's always best, I think, hickory, to cut it with some fruit wood. Now, if you're like the guys cooking on these jambos, it's just different now. Yeah, you'll be able to get Leanne on. Well, Leanne's not very tech savvy, though. You're going to have to get her when her daughter's in town, because her daughter can rig her up with that. But or go to the restaurant and sit there with her and have her do it. Because she could talk for an hour, but she's not very techy. Do I recommend a Big Green Egg? It's awesome. Yes, of course I do. I always recommend Big Green Egg, but I do work for them. And we will have one at the restaurant. We're going to have a bunch of stuff at the restaurant. We've also got an old hickory. We bought what Euler calls an Emilio, which is a wood-fired grill with a wood-fired rotisserie in back. That's how the chickens will get cooked. And then we'll have a Big Green Egg as well. And I doubt that we're done there. We live in Florida, so we'll probably have some sort of outside thing. We've talked about even building a hog cooking pit outside. We got to get the door open and get started, but I suspect we're going to have all kinds of fun stuff around there. All right, what did I miss? Is there any questions I should have got that I missed while I was showing you everything around here? When's the restaurant open? End of September is what we're talking about right now. We've got to, it's going to take a while. We're just starting to build out now. But our projection is we should be able to open towards the end of September. But we're saying fall. What am I drinking? Unsweet or diet tea. Nothing good. I should have made a drink. Favorite side dishes. That's a good one, Roger. It's funny. The old school barbecue places, baked beans, slaw, potato salad, some pickles, some bread. That's all you ever see. So when we started talking about this, I was like, well, you don't have to have macaroni and cheese, and you don't have to have greens, and you don't have to have grits. Well, you know what? That's not true anymore. It's just definitely not true. In a modern-day barbecue restaurant, you've got to have those things. Those are important barbecue side dishes. It's this mix of soul food and southern food and barbecue that really... It's kind of all the same thing. It definitely has connections. So, what made me decide to jump in the restaurant biz? Some really good partners. Yes, I know, it's sad. Diet tea. I'm getting old. I can't drink that much. I have a lot of bourbon and it just piles up. I don't get I buy more of it than I drink these days, which is really pretty amazing. If you knew me when I was younger, that didn't happen very often. I couldn't buy enough to keep up with what I was drinking, but anymore, yeah, I've kind of mellowed out. I hate to admit it, but I've sort of mellowed out as I've gotten a little older. Kingsford or lump, Big Green Egg, you got to use lump in it. They say you can use briquettes, and I guess maybe you can, but I just don't see any reason to change. I've been using Big Green Egg lump for 15 years, and I just don't see any reason to switch. There's nothing wrong with Kingsford. I'm not like a guy that thinks it's some evil thing, but I know lump charcoal is just made out of wood, so I'm going with that. What region of sauce do I prefer? Same old thing, These regions to me is a bunch of nonsense. There's actually probably more like 100 or 200 regions of barbecue. You can find one right across the street from each other. You know, if you think everybody in Alabama is putting white barbecue sauce on their ribs, you're dreaming. You need to go there. There's northern Alabama, they're putting it on chicken, and that's really about it. But it's just easy to sit in New York and write articles about this and just say, Alabama barbecue, it's got white sauce on it. Go experience it for yourself. There's so much cool stuff out there to see. There are no barbecue places around Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. We had one that closed up. I heard the prices were sky high. I've never been to Beaver Dam. It's got a good name for a town. Is that close to Toma? Because a friend of mine's got a barbecue restaurant in Toma. Darren Price, a good guy, retired Wisconsin state cop, and him and his family run BP's Smokehouse in Toma. I don't know how far that is from Beaver Dam, but if not, you should just move because Beaver Dam can't be that good. Am I a cigar guy? No, man. I'm a reformed cigarette smoker. I quit smoking cigs in 92 or something like that, and I know if I smoked a cigar, I'd go right back to it. I'm just a little too addictive. Great guy at the NBBQ with the churrasco cookers. Was that you, Greg? I was too busy looking at that hot blonde, so I didn't notice you. But that was a lot of fun down there. You guys got the nice setup, man. That was some cool stuff. I think everybody dug it. I just kept going out and eating other places. When I came back there, I wasn't hungry. Aspiring barbecue grilling writer. Get writing and get used to not getting paid for a long time, and hopefully it'll work out for you someday. You know, you gotta pay your dues, and that means doing a lot of stuff that you don't get paid for. I spent a lot of years pretending I was more successful than I was, so there's nothing wrong with that. You gotta get as much as you can, but I lived in some flea bag hotels over the years and drove what we used to a pretty bad looking van, and I live in campgrounds in my barbecue trailer. I mean, you know, you don't always get paid. You got to pretend like you're getting paid, pretend like you're a bigger deal than you are. But I lived in a lot of Motel 6s, man. It was for $39.99. It was like a prison cell. They were fairly clean, but it was definitely like a prison cell. You got the not getting paid part down. Okay, good. Then writing's for you, man. You're going to be fine. You know, any of this stuff, it's the barbecue sauce thing comes up a lot. But it's business. What you got to remember, all this stuff is a business. Just because it's barbecue and it's your passion, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm all of that too, man. But at the end of the day, if you got to make good business decisions. If you don't, I've always felt that I was a much better businessman than a cook. You know, I know a lot of guys can cook really good, but most of them couldn't put it together. That's what Myron deserves a lot of credit for as well. You know, the guys that have succeeded in a big way, Tuffy is a perfect example. Bad Byron, if you don't know Bad Byron, these are guys, and I consider myself one of them too, Chris Lilly. These are guys that were going to be successful at something. You know, these are guys with entrepreneurs, self-employed, business kind of guys that were going to figure something out. For all of us, it happened. Chris Capel is another one from Dizzy Pig. It just happened that barbecue fell into my life, and I loved it, and it was great. But I was going to do something with my life that was not normal. And I feel that Myron was absolutely that same kind of guy. I think Tuffy, I know Chris Capel is. And there's a bunch, and Byron. There's a bunch of other ones as well, but these are guys that were going to do good at something. Whatever their widget was going to be, and it just, I sort of feel in many cases it just happened to be barbecue. You do your own here, but you got too many complaints from the smoke. Thanks about the info to me. The smoke, so too much smoke on your barbecue. That's a common thing, you know. If everybody's telling you your barbecue's too smoky, you know what? It is. Yeah. You know, we're guys, you're a smoke eater. If a little bit of smoke is good, a lot must be better. You just have that mentality. But it's not true. It's not like that. And not everybody likes it that way anyway. And when you're cooking a barbecue all day, you get desensitized to it. So it's smokier than you thought it was, and that's not a good thing. So if people are telling you your barbecue's too smoky, it is. So back off. All right, you guys, it's almost 8 o'clock. I'm done. Thanks. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Obviously I can talk for an hour without anyone else talking to me. I appreciate all the questions. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you have a lot of fun with other people doing it. Call me again in a couple of years. We'll do it again. Take care, guys.